I've already heard great reports about our next speaker here at Jobs Expo. No pressure, but I have heard that you are absolutely thrilling to listen to. So, ladies and gentlemen, who I have for you is Tracy Garrity is her name. Now, she's a transformative coach, and she'll explain exactly what that is, which is why she's here. She's going to be talking about success without the stress. There's 3 steps to powerful self-belief and greater confidence without all the obstacles. So if you think you would like some success without a huge amount of stress, because I guess we all need a tiny bit of stress, don't we, to keep things, just a tiny bit. So ladies and gentlemen, I would love if you give Tracy, our transformative coach, a lovely warm round of applause today to welcome her.
Thanks, Ruth. Good afternoon, everybody. How are you? So, yes, I am a transformative coach. What is that? I hear you say. You know what? Nobody knows us as well as we know ourselves. So in terms of the kind of coaching that I do, it's really about helping you to recognize that you have limitless wisdom and ability within you to figure out things for yourself. So really what I do is I kind of guide people to recognize that within themselves rather than me telling them what to do. I help you to figure it out for yourself. So it's a bit like that, you know, give a man a fish and he'll eat for a day, or teach a man how to fish and he'll eat for life. That's kind of what I do. So, you know what? 2020 is fast approaching, the beginning of a new decade. And I think I'm a very goal-orientated person anyway, and I am really excited about what the new year is bringing, and there seems to be a great vibe about it. So if you're in a process of setting goals for yourself and trying to decide what you want to create for the next decade, for the next year, then wouldn't it be nice to be able to do it with greater ease and without all of the stress? So, you know, that's really the outline of what I'm going to be doing with you today. So before I do that, I want to share a little bit about my own story and really why I'm qualified to talk about this kind of thing, because I am somebody who has overcome a lot of obstacles to get to this point today. And one of the reasons that I love what I do so much is because I know that we are capable of so much once we get out of our heads. So my background's in nursing. I'm from Galway, west of Ireland. I'm from Connemara originally. And I trained as a nurse, and then I moved into the pharmaceutical sector, and I worked as a medical rep for 13 years. And I had a good job, you know, company car, all the perks. In the middle, got married, had 2 kids, had the starter house, got the next step up house, you know, ticking all the stereotypical boxes, as it were. And then, boom, just everything seemed to happen in a really close space of time. So my mother died very suddenly and out of the blue. She was quite young. My son, who was only 2.5, got really sick, and eventually he was diagnosed with Crohn's disease. He's 14 now and just a normal, annoying teenager, FYI, but he was very sick at the time. And then my marriage broke down, and I ended up leaving my family home with my 2 small children. And I had also been made redundant. So just a couple of little things to deal with. So it knocked me for a long time, but I continued to live in a very victim mode for a while, and I just found that I was making an awful lot of really bad mistakes, which were having obviously a knock-on bad effect on my life. And I was also drinking too much. So that was we all have our poison, and that was mine. And it wasn't until I had a smack myself on the head moment and went, geez, Tracy, you are a smart girl. Why are you making so many stupid mistakes? And the minute that I asked myself that question, which was about 4 years ago, 5 actually, I think now, everything just started to turn around. Because the fact was, I genuinely wanted to know why I was making these decisions for myself that were having so many negative outcomes. And there was a reason for it. And I'm going to share some of that with you today. But essentially it's down to how we value ourselves. And the less value we place on ourselves, the more bullshit basically we're willing to put up with. And the more that we do value ourselves, the more we're going to ask for in life. And that's why success without the stress comes with a lot of having that value in yourself to know that, guess what, you are worth it. And I'd flick my hair, except I can't. Okay, so beliefs are really important. How beliefs shape us. It controls where we focus, because we start to form beliefs from about the age of 8. And our beliefs are formed not because of anything that is factually correct. They are formed based on how we speak to ourselves and how other people speak to us. And it's a process called neuroconditioning. And I'm not going to get too much into the science, but it's kind of like hypnosis, as it were. So we hypnotize ourselves into believing things that are only true because we have said them, not because they are factually correct. But what they do when we believe something to be true about ourselves is they put a filter on the way that we see the world. So if I believe that I have no confidence in myself, then I'm going to have a set of filters on that will only allow information to come in that supports that belief. There might be lots of other things going on that would contradict it, but because I have this belief in place, I'm not seeing it. So when we have these filters on, all we're really doing is continuing to build on these beliefs. So in order to change what we believe about ourselves, we need to put on new filters, okay? And the scary thing about beliefs is that they're in the background. And especially when I'm working with clients who are in around my age, middle age, we're kind of like the layers of an onion. So you'll uncover one belief and break that down, and then something else will pop up and something else will pop up. So they are in our subconscious mind, and they're controlling an awful lot of what we do with our life without us even recognizing it. And when it comes to setting goals and when it comes to asking for things, they can have a really sabotaging effect on it. And, you know, often people are like, oh God, I really struggle when it comes to setting goals for myself. It's because of some belief that's working away in the background, and it's causing you to do things that stop you from reaching your goal. And that was one of the things that was going on in my head, okay? And our beliefs then, what we believe to be true about ourselves, they will determine what we ask for or don't ask for in life. So when we are full of negative beliefs about ourselves, it causes an awful lot of self-doubt. Oh, I'd never be any good at this, I can't do that. Or there's no point in me applying for that. I wouldn't have a chance. Which then leads to overwhelm, because every time you want to do something, all of these little doubty voices come into your head, and they're exhausting. And that's where the overwhelm comes from. Everything is scarier. If you don't have the belief in yourself, then everything that you do is going to be scary, which then leads to procrastination. So you're putting things off, but it's really coming from an underlying fear based on a belief that you have. And ultimately stops us from reaching our full potential. So it holds us back in life. So when we do have much better beliefs in ourselves, we overcome that self-doubt. We start to have more confidence in ourselves. And you know, confidence doesn't come from, I'm fucking great at everything. You know, I'm brilliant, I can do this. Confidence comes from our willingness to try things, believing that we have the ability to learn. And that's it. Because anybody who's brilliant at doing something, they weren't brilliant when they started out. We all have to start someplace. So you really just have to believe in that ability to learn. Better beliefs improve our willpower. So people say, oh, I've no willpower to do anything. Oh, you've got loads of willpower. There's no such thing as willpower, really. We either have beliefs that support us in what we want to do and give us momentum and push us forward, or we have beliefs that contradict what we want to do and they pull us back. And that's where that sabotage comes from, okay? And the more we believe in ourselves and the more we value ourselves, our decisions are going to be directly affected by that. So you'll start to make much better choices for yourself because you believe you can, as opposed to believing that you can't. Okay, so how do we fix it? Self-awareness is really important. And you know, as a coach, and when I speak to people, and myself included, you know, so many people will often say, oh God, I hate being alone with my thoughts. I just don't even want to go there. Like there's some mythical, magical creature living in your head that's going to kill you if you start to listen to what you're thinking and saying about yourself. But if you don't know what the problem is, you can't fix it. So this is where self-awareness is really important. Start to listen to yourself. And I always recommend writing things down because it's great to put things down on paper. You would be amazed the kind of negative, nasty, horrible things that you probably say to yourself. And some of the thoughts that we have that build the worst beliefs, they're barely audible. They are like a little whisper of a cloud that, it's gone. That's not true, I don't really believe that. But yet, it's there in the background. So it's not until you become aware of it and you start to write them down and see, God, do I really believe this about myself? So self-awareness is really, really important in this area. Listen to the language that you're using. Do you say an awful lot of, I can't, I'd be no good at, I've no time? Are you making an awful lot of excuses? Because they are often hiding something else. And change your language. So when we form a belief about something, hands up who likes being wrong? Nobody likes being wrong. Yeah, thought so. Okay, in actual fact, the brain doesn't like being wrong. It's called cognitive dissonance. So if you have a belief about yourself in something that you're no good at or you can't do or that you lack confidence, and you go home today because you heard Tracy speaking and start with all these positive affirmations, the brain's not going to be having any of it. Because as far as the brain's concerned, for the last 10, 15, 20 years, you've been telling them, no, you can't do it. And for you to turn around now and disagree with yourself, they're going to go, no thanks, we're cool, we've got this belief, we'll stick with that one. So what you have to do is try and break down the existing belief before you can replace it with a new one. But if they see it, why aren't you seeing it? Because of filters that you have on. So you want to put in new filters, and you do that by learning and growing. And then you can start your affirmations. And you're obviously changing the direction of your focus. Okay, so what becomes possible is that you feel more confident, energized, because you're talking yourself up instead of talking yourself down. You see new opportunities, things that were probably always there, but that you say, do you know what, I'm going to go for this. Whereas you mightn't have even recognized that they were there before. And you have the belief in yourself to set bigger goals and challenges. And okay, I know you're listening to me saying this. I wouldn't be here speaking to you today, doing this, if I hadn't put all of this in place. I am the poster girl example of the power that comes with investing in yourself and what you believe in yourself. It doesn't come, there's no such thing as, overnight. It's like you will ask for more when you believe that you are worthy of more. And until you do that, nothing will change, okay? And things get easier. Things do get easier when you're doing it from a sense of self-belief instead of fighting with yourself all the time, which is often what we are doing. Okay, so the next thing is dealing with fear. Now, my analogy for this, any Harry Potter nerds here? You? Okay. So for those of you that have seen Harry Potter, you will know what platform 9 3/4 is, okay? And this is where Harry is going on his first journey up to Hogwarts, and he arrives in at the train station, and to get onto the platform, they're standing facing a brick wall. And all of the Weasleys that are traveling with him, that's the name of the family, just for those of you that aren't nerds, they are all running at a brick wall, and the minute that they do, they disappear through it. And they keep saying, Harry, you need to run at the wall, you need to run at the wall. But he doesn't want to because he's scared. Because he's afraid that if he runs at the wall, he's going to bang into it and hurt himself. So he is standing back, he's holding himself back. Until eventually he just goes for it. He runs through the wall, and guess what? The magic is all on the other side. And I see fear and how it holds us back as something very similar, because nothing good or exciting or really life-changing happens where it's nice and safe. It all happens on the other side of a brick wall that you just have to push through. So if it doesn't challenge you, it is not going to change you, okay? And every time we do something that takes us out of our comfort zone, it helps us grow in terms of our confidence. So if it's, whether it's your career or for me, my business, anytime I've done something that where literally the adrenaline was pumping through me and my stomach was churning in knots, it has always had a really positive knock-on effect for me and my business. And just my life in general. So ask yourself, when is the last time that you scared the shit out of yourself? Because if you're not doing it on a regular basis, then nothing's going to change and you're not really challenging yourself. Okay? So, and that's where our true power comes from, doing things that are scary. Okay? And ultimately, when we stay in the comfort zone, whether it is in a job that you're unhappy in, but maybe it's giving you a lot of security in terms of paying the bills and all that usual stuff, whether it's staying in a relationship that you're not particularly happy in, whether it's anything, it always causes more pain down the line. So we feel like, look, I just wouldn't be able for that right now. But the longer you leave something because you're afraid, the more damaging it is going to do in the long run, okay? And you get bored. It's boring. Like, we get really, really bored when we don't do things that push us and challenge us. And, you know, sometimes there's a bit of a mentality, sure, I'm in my 40s now, sure, I'm not going to do anything new. What about the next 40 years? You know, so as long as we are growing and challenging ourselves, there's always going to be something exciting down the line. Okay? And also, we never see what we're truly capable of unless we do things that are pushing us outside that comfort zone. Okay, so when we are being courageous, we get more comfortable in asking for more for ourselves. And we start to feel more confident in our abilities because, you know, do you think that I'd be confidently up here speaking to you if I hadn't done it several times before where I wasn't confidently speaking to people? I just had to keep doing it and doing it and doing it until a point where, okay, you know what, I got this now. Which means now I need to do something else that really scares me because I'm far too comfortable doing this. Okay. And also, you know, we feel less anxious about, you know, common fears. And you know what all of our fears come from? The fear that we'll be rejected, the fear that we won't be good enough. And that's kind of pretty much it. And you know what? They're all fears based on what other people think. And what other people think is utterly irrelevant, okay? And to prove this point, if you were to go out into a field in the middle of the night and look up at the stars and the moon and the sky and there's trees around you, and if you were to stand there and start going, yeah, but you know now what I think, and if I was this person and I'd tell them to do this, is anything going to change in the world? No. Because opinions are irrelevant. So if we're afraid of other people's opinions, it's like being afraid of a fictional story. They're not real. They're just thoughts. That's it. Okay? So when we face our fears, or how to overcome fears, is set small, scary challenges for yourself. They don't have to be massive things. Just get into the habit of doing little things that push you out of your comfort zone over and over again. Whether it could be career or it could be personal. Detach from outcomes. This is what I'm talking about, outcomes, is people's opinions. They don't matter. And if you were to go into something saying, I'm doing this for me, full stop. You are, regardless of the outcome, you should always be proud of yourself every time that you do something. You know, I fundamentally believe that the word failure should be taken out of the dictionary because it has all these negative connotations, when the reality is that every time we do something, we learn and we grow, and it doesn't matter what the outcome is. So just do it. Get out there and do things over and over and over again. And, you know, one of the questions that you can ask yourself every time you challenge yourself is, who am I serving? So, who am I going to help? Is it just that I'm going to be a happier, better person? Well, is there going to be a ripple effect to the people that are around me? So rather than thinking about yourself, thinking about who else it will benefit when you do things where you've pushed yourself outside that comfort zone. And then ask yourself, what's the worst that can happen? So I don't know how we are on time, but I just want to share a quick story about when I was nursing. I wasn't long qualified, and I was doing agency in Dublin at the time. And I went into St. Michael's in Dunleary. It's closed now, but when I went in, it was on night duty. The girl who had been on all day handed me the keys. And in nursing, the keys are the keys to the drug press. And whoever is in charge usually carries the keys. So I was looking at the keys going, when's the nurse in charge going to be on? And she looked at me and went, you are the nurse in charge. And in my head I was going, I'm not grown up adulty enough to be the nurse in charge. No, I was a qualified nurse, I would like to point out. And I was the nurse in charge, and I had 3 student nurses on with me that night. It took me about 5 hours to do the drug round. But you know what? Nobody died. And when I say that, I mean like literally nobody died. And that is a worst case scenario. And when we're doing things that are challenging and scary, you have to, am I going to die? Well, no. Right, well then get over yourself. You'll be grand. Okay. And when we do that, we feel so proud of ourselves. And we always should, regardless of the outcome. Our confidence and our resilience grows because we recognize that, do you know what, I did that and I was grand. So it encourages you to challenge yourself again and again. And also it means that you are now starting to take control of what you are creating for yourself. Because most what people want, they know what they want. They come to me and they'll say, I don't really know what I want to do. And I'll be going, yeah, you do. I'll be like, no, I don't. Yeah, you do. It's just that what you really want to do really scares you. So you're afraid to say it out loud. But when we do that, that's when the magic starts to happen. That's when you've found platform 9 3/4. So obstacles and dealing with obstacles. For most of us, and myself included, this is kind of what we allow to stop us from progressing. We allow things that for the most part aren't even real. Most of the obstacles that we think are blocking us, they're imaginary. They're not real at all. And it's things like, I don't have the time for that at the moment, or, no, there's no point in me now applying for that because I wouldn't even get called for an interview. Or, do you know what now, that just wouldn't suit me right now, or I can't afford it. These are all things that are in our head an awful lot of the time. We think they're real, but they're actually not. So I have had every obstacle in my path, but there's always been a way around it. So, if you want to live your life with greater ease and less stress, then learning to solve problems quickly and effectively is a really, really good skill to have. And this is something that very much comes with resilience. And it means that you're going to be living a simple life with greater peace and more energy to invest in the things that you really want to do. How bad is that? Okay? So when things block our path, when you think somebody is out to get you, or you've had an argument with somebody, or something has happened, somebody's offended you, and then you go off about your business, and you're all up in your head going, yeah, well, you know what now, the next time I see that person, I'm going to say this to them, and I'm so sorry now I didn't say this. And you spend hours and hours and hours having an argument in your head over something that it might as well have been a book or a film that you watched, that you were having an argument with the character in the movie. Because it's not real. They're just thoughts. But they're exhausting. They drain us. They take our focus away from what we want to do. And they create massive obstacles. There are people walking around there, embittered and angry with something that somebody said to them 10 years ago. And it has directed their whole life because of that. For what? What's the outcome? Nothing. Nothing's going to come from that. So a lot of the obstacles that we have are the arguments and justifications that we have in our own head. And when we stop that and get rid of them, all of a sudden, this energy is freed to focus on doing other things that are far more fun and a lot more exciting, okay? So when we are a whiz at problem solving, we have less brain drain. So less brain drain is a very non-technical term for having a clearer prefrontal cortex, if you want to have the scientific. So the prefrontal cortex is the area of the brain that we do all of our planning and strategizing and helps us focus on things. And when it is stressed, it doesn't work. It doesn't work very well. So you can't expect to stay focused on projects or to stay excited about things and creating things that you want to do if you've got brain drain, okay? It's exhausting. It's exhausting when we are constantly putting out fires and feel like we are battling things. And obviously we're going to have much greater focus when we are good at overcoming things. So, what is the problem? Write it out. You know, this is so good. And one of the things that has really helped me with my own development, as it were, is to really not take myself so seriously. I try to laugh at myself as much as possible. And even I've found that with my kids, and especially having a teenager, half the time I start giving out to him, and we end up laughing in the middle of it, which completely diffuses the situation. And by writing things out, by writing out the things that are going around in our head that we are spending all this time thinking about, sometimes you look at it and go, oh man, that is so ridiculous. Am I really spending all of this time thinking about that? And if it is an actual real problem, like it's something that you're like, okay, I just don't seem to have the time at the moment. Again, write it down. Because you're trying to find a solution. You're not trying to focus on this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem, this is a problem. You're looking for something, a way to solve it. So by asking really good questions around it, first of all, is it real or is it imaginary? And if it's imaginary, then it's up to you to change your thoughts. That's really, I know it sounds really simple, but that's what it is. You just change your thoughts and it's gone. If it's real, then you need to start asking some really good questions about it. So I often say if you ask a shitty question, you will always get a shitty answer. And by that I mean questions that affirm why. Oh, why am I so unlucky? Or why did these things always happen to me? Whereas if you ask really good questions, is there a solution to this? How can I resolve this in such a way that it's not going to present a problem again? It's just a really good habit to get into. Okay, overcoming obstacles gives us freedom, headspace, clarity, time, and energy. Now, who doesn't want more of that? Okay, so just finally to finish up, this is what we know. The brain believes whatever you tell it to believe, regardless of whether it is true or false. Okay? And a lack of self-belief is going to constantly pull you back. All of our greatest accomplishments are on the other side of fear and discomfort. If we don't start getting uncomfortable, everything is going to stay the same over and over and over again. And most obstacles are movable with the right perspective. When we don't find permanent solutions to ongoing problems, we've no energy left to create what we truly want. Okay? We have the power to change, the power to believe, and the power to create. And thank you very much for listening.